This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hey everybody, today it's your old pal Rob doing all kinds of kooky things. Now, recently I have gotten ISS Vanguard, and the one thing I noticed that it seems very, very similar to another game, Stars of Akaros. And what I wanted to do was kind of compare these two games because they do kind of the same thing. Now, listen, this is not a which one is truly better than the other one, or hey, go out and buy this one. It really depends on what you what reaches you and what kind of game you like. But these are two games that are very unique, and are starting to hit. We're starting to see more games like this, where space exploration, landing on planets, doing all kinds of missions and things like that, and it's a very exciting time. And these are two games that I've considered for Game of the Year. Which one's stronger? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that and how I feel personally, and the differences that I see, and where I tend to lean towards. Doesn't mean that either game is not good. Both games I think are fantastic in their own way. After messing with a few things, it's almost like I don't need one of these. Okay, but I'm going to keep both of them because I just love space exploration games and things that do a lot of really neat things on a sci-fi level. So let's talk a little bit about each game. Now, first off, we're going to talk about Stars of Akaros. A very unique game, done very, very well. Very popular Kickstarter. The story is very good. My thing is some of the strengths of it is how it plays out, how you handle your ships. The models are decent, and I really enjoyed a lot of the gameplay, how the game flows. The space battles I thought were very, very interesting, and how you use dice, how you use your dice, and how things flow in it were very interesting. The other thing I really love is how you manage dice. Okay, assigning. I love games that you roll dice and then assign dice. It does it very well. I love the characters. When you get down to the planet and you start hitting those different areas, and you've got to research and go through the book, and maybe you go to a different area. It does have some good replayability, but also a little bit of repetitiveness. The space battles are okay. Are pretty good, again, like I said, and overall the story is all right. Where there have been some negatives, I have a couple of damaged things in there, and I wrote customer service and I got no response. I think that may have something to do when I criticize customer service when I just asked a simple question, and I guess they were just rolling out the game, and now maybe they just ignore me. Maybe other people have had better experiences. For me, that kind of put a damping on this. The other thing is once you kind of get through it, it has a little bit of repetitiveness, but that doesn't take away from the imagination of this Brendan McCaskill. Sorry about that. It doesn't take away from his imagination and what he has created here. Ohm Games has done a beautiful job on this, and for me, I have to consider this in the upper echelons of the games that have come out this year. This is a very good science fiction game. But how does it compare to ISS Vanguard? Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The other thing is I did paint up some of these models, which are very nice. I kind of felt a little more detail would have been nicer, but how can you complain? They also have standees. There's a standees edition. Now you had to pay extra for the starships, which I have over there. I'm sorry, which is another thing. But it was well worth it. The plastic is good. I like what they did with the ships. I like what they did with the figures. Starla is like one of my favorite characters. Excellently done. Very, very solid figures, and you could play with standees, which I also felt were very strong, very colorful, and added a lot. So, however you wanted to do it, you can either go get the starships, or you can run with the standees, which I thought was typically fine. And I think that's good for a lot of people that just don't want to paint or just don't want gray plastic on there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to switch places on this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about ISS Vanguard. Now, when my friend Adam, who is my good friend Adam from Rolling Solo, suggests a game, I usually listen because we both have the same taste and we both hate the same game. We know what it is, okay? We keep it to ourselves because we played it at a Gen Con. It was horrible. And Tino will remember that, but we'll never ever tell you the name of the game. But this game here really came as a surprise to me. Awakening Realms is usually very, very solid. They've put out some really good games, but most of it, a lot of the time, for me, it seems excess. Everything's excess. You get one of their Kickstarters and there are like 9 million things to it. And I usually tend to shy away till later until I find out if people really enjoy the game or not. This, I think, is definitive of what I'm looking for in a space game. And this is just a fantastic rendition of one. The space travel, the story, the in-depthness, how it sucks you in, landing on planets. And the uniqueness of it is that you have to play the 4 characters. You have to be the engineer and so forth and so on. But it isn't you're playing one, you're playing what is on a starship and a group. And sometimes maybe one engineer, will get replaced with another, or your crew members interchange. And I think that was very unique in how that all played out. The enemies, the overall, how you tend to your ship when you go into the ship phase, and all the unique details to it, which just makes this such a unique game. Again, you have a choice between the miniatures, which are absolutely drop dead gorgeous, and I can't wait to paint. This just reminds me, this particular ship just has something very deep. It reminds me of something from one of the Babylon 5s that I used to play, or not Silent Death, but Full Thrust, and it has that type of feel to it. The ships, the creatures, the detail that you get on the miniatures, should you go to the miniatures, is 100% better. The overall quality, I think, is just a notch, just a little notch higher. And this is not a hit piece against Stars of Akaros, but it's kind of. I just feel that you get more out of this ISS Vanguard, and there's more of an experience there. Both are just solid games, and both I have in my running for Game of the Year, and you will find both of these on that list. So this isn't a, I'm not out to to hurt either one of these games. But if I had to pick one, you know, to be honest with you, I think I have a choice in my head if I had to keep one. And we'll come back and we'll talk about that on the other side. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, you know, when I think about, you know, ISS Vanguard, what you're going to do is when you get this, it's going to be a little bit intimidating, because what you're going to run into is a lot of setup. Setting the cards up, setting the ship book up, getting everything in order in the slots and stuff like that. But once you get going, there is such a rich experience there. It was worth taking the time to go through that, and I think it pays off in the end. Stars of Akaros, I don't think you need as much setup time, but it does everything it does very well. The book is well written. It can be a little tough to get going, where ISS Vanguard with the tutorial, it really does take its time. The other thing I like is the app, okay, that tells the story for you, so you don't have a ton of reading in there, and it does what it does very well and very professionally and very just, you know, these guys have been around the block, they get it, okay. This Stars of Akaros really does what it does very, very, very well, and it's very, very good. Besides the few hiccups that I've had with customer service, this is just a very, very good game, and you have a chance to get Stars of Akaros, you should. But if I had to keep one in my collection, I think it's ISS Vanguard. I'm just absolutely fascinated and smitten with it. They both do kind of the same thing. I'm more leaning towards Vanguard. Now, will that change in a few months? We'll see. And you know, I don't want to spoil my review for Vanguard, because we're actually going to have a review for this and talk more about this game. But you know, both games very, very, very solid. And it's just the smallest of edge. You know, if I had to look at things, it's like 53% to 47%. I would go with Vanguard, but that's enough for me to tip the scales. And especially nowadays, when you have to choose between games, you know, it's up to you. It's that close. It becomes more of a personal preference. I do love the ship battles in Akaros and how that plays out. I think it does things just so well in that. And you know, I wish I got the playmat, or I took the time to get the playmat, because I think that would have been would have helped me with the neoprene with some of the space battles. Vanguard, when you're going through your planet phase where you're exploring and stuff, it's the tenseness that gets you, and it's very interesting how quickly things can go good or things can go bad in that, and it does a great job doing what it does. Both just solid. You know, this is a great time to be a science fiction, you know, space fan. You know, a fan of outer space travel and intergalactic planet involvement. Both these games do it as well as anything, and they have set the benchmark. And I think you have to take that into consideration, that both these games are great. For me, right at this moment, if we have to talk this day towards the end of the year here, right now it's just a little lean to the left for Vanguard, that's for sure. But both very solid and wonderful games, and I suggest you do your research. Check out some great videos out there. Research really, really hard, and decide which one really works for you. There's a lot of great videos out there. Matter of fact, if I have to say anything, one of the best videos out there as far as explaining a game is from Brandon McCaskill. I gotta be able to say that. And his video explaining how to play the game is top notch, and I think you're gonna find that that really really, you know, kind of almost makes the scales even, because I find that the ones for Vanguard can be very long and drawn out, where he made it very, very exciting and well done. So, you know, it's apples and oranges, you know, flipping a coin, splitting hairs, all those things. But right now, I'm leaning a little bit towards Vanguard a bit. And just from my experiences with both companies and both games. So make your own decision, research, do your best, but these are both games that should be considered to be into your collection. Just find the one that works right for you. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon.